Okay, I see you over there staring into space, like completely zoned out. What is going on in your head right now?
I mean, I was just running some math, and it kind of broke my brain for a second.
Okay, do share, because you look like you just solved the Da Vinci Code.
Well, I just realized that a guy making $150,000 a year but working like 80 hours a week in New York is actually poorer than a guy making $40,000 but working 4 hours a week in Bali.
Wait, poorer? Mathematically?
Like, actually poorer. Once you factor in the currency at time, the guy making 40 grand is literally wealthier. It just, it totally ruins your whole worldview for a minute.
Welcome back to Brickonomics. Today we're diving into Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Workweek. It's not just about being lazy, it's about relative income. Like, if you make 100 grand but have zero time to spend it, are you actually wealthy? Or is the person making half that but living anywhere they want actually winning?
That is exactly the vibe today, because this deep dive into the book is entirely about that massive shift in mindset. It's all about escaping that traditional 9-to-5 grind, figuring out how to literally live anywhere and exploring what the book calls the new rich.
And the new rich, just to clarify for everyone listening on the couch with us, it isn't about hoarding millions of dollars in a bank account until you're 65, right?
Exactly. It's not about waiting around hoping your knee still works so you can go on some boring cruise. It's about having the freedom of time and mobility right now, today.
Which is such a huge paradigm shift because, if you're listening to us right now and you're commuting to a job, you've probably been conditioned since childhood to look at a single number.
The annual salary.
Yes, the annual salary. And
right.
we just assume that's the entire story of someone's wealth. So let's actually break down that math you were looking at earlier, because I think we really need to hear the exact numbers to grasp this whole absolute versus relative income thing.
Let's do it. So the book lays this out with a really concrete example that I love. Imagine we have a guy named John.
Okay, John.
John makes $150,000 a year. And then let's look at the author, who at this point in the book's example is making $30,000 a year.
Right.
If you just walk up to anyone on the street and ask, who is richer? Literally everyone points to John.
Oh, of course. He makes 5 times as much money.
Exactly. If we only look at absolute income, John is the undeniable winner. But here is where we zoom in and look at the hourly breakdown.
And that changes everything.
It changes everything. Because John is grinding, man. He is working 80 hours a week in an office to pull in that $150K.
That sounds miserable, by the way, 80 hours.
It's basically his entire life. But the author, he's working 10 hours a week for his $30,000.
Yeah.
So if we do the math slowly, John making his $150,000 at 80 hours a week is actually only making about $36 an hour.
$36 an hour, wow.
Okay, and the author, working just 10 hours a week for his $30,000 a year, is making $58 an hour.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay, when you lay it out bare like that, the guy making 30 grand is getting paid almost double for his actual time.
It completely flips the script.
Yeah.
But it actually goes even deeper than that. Because we have to talk about the physical location of that money.
What do you mean by physical location? Like where the bank is?
No, like where the person has to exist to earn it. This relies on something called currency arbitrage.
Okay, fancy words. Break that down for us.
It's basically just a smart way of saying you earn your money in a super strong currency, like US dollars.
Right.
But you intentionally live in a place where you spend it in a weaker currency, like Thai baht or Argentine pesos. So your money just magically multiplies in value.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You're completely decoupling how you earn from where you spend.
Precisely. Let's look back at John. John has to live in New York City because that's where his high-paying job is physically located.
Yeah.
He's literally chained to a desk.
Right. He can't just move to Ohio and keep that exact job.
Exactly. So he's earning in dollars, but he is spending in heavily inflated New York dollars.
Oh, the worst kind of dollars.
All right. If he wants to take his girlfriend out on a nice fine dining date, that's going to cost him easily $200.
Minimum. Probably just for the appetizers and a couple of drinks in Manhattan.
Exactly. But the 10-hour-a-week worker, he has total location independence. He can be anywhere in the world. So he takes his laptop to a country with a much lower cost of living.
Because he can work from anywhere.
Exactly. He's earning in strong US dollars, but spending in a weaker local currency. He takes his girlfriend out for a beautiful, multi-course fine dining experience abroad, and it only costs him $20.
So not only is his hourly rate inherently higher, but his purchasing power is just exponentially greater.
It really makes you rethink the whole rat race, doesn't it?
It totally does. It reminds me of that perfect image from the book. It's like if someone offered you $5 million to live in Breadville, but a single piece of bread there costs $1 million, you aren't actually rich.
Yes. That is such a fantastic way to visualize it.
Yeah.
I mean, what good is a giant pile of money if the environment you're forced to stay in just to earn that money drains it all right back out of you?
It's basically a trap.
It is a trap.
Yeah.
Relative income is the ultimate equalizer. It measures wealth in terms of time and mobility, not just absolute dollars in a checking account.
Okay, I get the math on the $20 fine dining. And I really do love the concept, but let's be real for a second, because I know people listening are thinking this too.
Kibby.
40 grand a year in Bali is great until you get sick and need a hospital, or, you want to actually stay for retirement. But wait, isn't it risky to hire a virtual assistant with your passwords? And what if your automated business just fails after 6 months? Is this actually realistic for normal people?
I am so glad you're pushing back on this, because this is the exact hurdle everyone hits.
It just sounds a little, I don't know, too good to be true.
It totally does. It sounds a bit like a late-night infomercial, and it is completely fair to be skeptical. So, to answer your first point about security, the goal isn't to stay at 40 grand forever.
Okay, so it's a stepping stone.
Right. The goal is that by buying back your time, you now have 30 extra hours a week. And you use that time to build other assets, learn new skills, or start another income stream. You aren't just coasting on a beach, you're leveraging your free time.
Ah, okay, I see. So the free time itself is the asset you use to build the long-term security.
Exactly. Now, to your bigger question, is this actually realistic for normal people? The short answer is yes.
Really?
Yeah, there are thousands of normal people doing it right now. But, and this is the massive but, are most people going to be able to do this? Absolutely not.
Why not? So it is an exclusive thing.
Well, not exclusive in the sense that you need a Harvard degree or a giant trust fund. It's exclusive because most people simply will not do the uncomfortable, unglamorous work required to set it up. Think about it like human nature. The book talks about this. If you spill coffee on your shirt on the way to work and then your car won't start, can you control your emotional response and stay happy?
I mean, I would probably lose my mind.
Right. Most people can't control it. But just because it's incredibly hard to control your reaction doesn't mean that, books by Viktor Frankl or Stephen Covey are scams.
Oh, that's a really good point. The principles are solid. We're just bad at executing them.
Exactly. It's like trying to build a pipeline instead of carrying buckets of water. Everyone is used to getting paid to carry buckets. It's what we know.
You carry a bucket, you get a paycheck on Friday, it's safe.
Right. It's guaranteed. But building the pipeline, that takes 2 years. You don't get paid at all during that time. You're exhausted and your hands bleed. Most people will just go back to carrying buckets because they want that guaranteed money today.
That makes a lot of sense. The concept of relative income is simple, but the execution of getting there is brutal.
And to your point about things failing, you cannot be naive about the reality of the hustle, especially at the beginning.
Right, because businesses fail all the time.
All the time. If you're building a product, let's take an example from the book. Say you decide to make a fun, educational philosophy animation channel.
Okay, love that.
You don't just snap your fingers and suddenly have passive income.
You're not just immediately sipping a coconut in Bali.
No. You might spend an entire year working on that channel, pouring your heart into it, and it might be a complete disaster.
Oh, yikes.
Nobody watches it. Total failure.
Which is terrifying if you're relying on that to be your magic pipeline.
It is terrifying. But that failure rate is actually the cost of entry. You learn from it. And then maybe it takes a whole second year applying everything you learned to finally build a successful channel that generates that automated revenue.
So you're talking about 2, maybe 3 solid years of hard work and failure before you get anywhere near a 4-hour work week. When you lay it out like that, 2 or 3 years of failure sounds incredibly daunting. But then you have to think about the counter perspective. Even if it takes you 3 full years of stumbling and failing and figuring it out, the alternative is literally working as a slave to a traditional job for 40 years.
Boom. That is the entire calculation right there.
Yeah, I mean, it really puts it in perspective.
It does. If you are sitting in traffic listening to us right now, commuting to a job that takes 50 hours of your week, you have to ask yourself, how much is that 50 hours actually costing you over a lifetime?
A lot more than just the hours on the clock, that's for sure.
Exactly. When you weigh 3 years of struggle against 40 years of asking a boss for permission to take a long weekend, the risk of failing for a couple of years starts to look a lot more reasonable.
Okay, so let's say someone listening is nodding along. They want to put in those couple of years to build the pipeline. The immediate glaring problem is, where do they find the time? Because if you're already carrying buckets for 50 hours a week, you're exhausted, you come home and you just want to watch TV. How do you find the hours to build this new lifestyle?
This is where we get into the real mechanics of the book. And it starts with a concept that is probably going to trigger anyone who has ever worked in a corporate office.
Oh boy, what is it?
It's about Parkinson's law.
Oh, Parkinson's law. That's the idea that work expands to fill the time allotted for it, right?
Spot on. But let's elevate that, because Parkinson's law isn't just some dry academic theory. It's the exact reason why your Tuesday afternoon feels exhausting, even when you have almost nothing to do.
Oh my gosh, yes. The void demands to be filled.
It really does. The traditional organization brings people in, traps them at a desk for 8 full hours, and gives them a task.
Right.
And because they have 8 whole hours to do it, they stretch it out. They check email 100 times. They go to completely useless meetings. They organize their desktop folders by color.
It's the illusion of productivity. The amount of time spent just looking busy in an office is staggering.
It's terrifying. If you took that exact same person, gave them the exact same task, and said, hey, you have 1 hour to do this, and then you can go home,
they would finish it.
They would ruthlessly prioritize and get it done in an hour. So the first step to finding time isn't managing your schedule better, it's elimination.
Elimination, just cutting things out.
Yes. It's ruthlessly cutting out the useless tasks that are just filling the void.
Yeah.
And this relies heavily on the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle.
Right. The idea that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts.
Precisely. Most of us spend way too much time on the 80% of efforts that produce almost nothing.
That is so true.
Like if we were to do a live audit of a listener's week, say they run a small e-commerce store on the side.
Okay.
They probably spend 15 hours a week tweaking their logo, fighting with website color schemes, and answering emails from people who never actually buy anything.
Right, just spinning their wheels.
Exactly. That's the 80% of work yielding 20% of the revenue. The 20% of work that actually drives 80% of their sales is probably just running 2 specific Facebook ads and calling their manufacturer to ensure inventory.
You know, it's funny you mention this because I had a massive wake-up call with this exact thing recently.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I realized I spend hours marketing by posting on every social media site, but 80% of our viewers only come from one place. I'm wasting so much time on the wrong bricks.
That is a perfect real-world example of what the book is talking about. Think about the energy drain on that. You were spending, what, 10 hours a week trying to be everywhere?
Easily.
Yeah.
Formatting different posts, checking comments on 5 different apps, stressing about algorithms on platforms that weren't even moving the needle. It was honestly exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
But I have to admit, for the first 2 weeks after I cut the other platforms, I was terrified I was making a massive mistake. You're so conditioned to think more effort equals more results that doing less actually induces panic.
Oh, the guilt is so real. We confuse being busy with being important. Letting go of that 80% feels reckless.
It really does.
But by applying the 80-20 principle, pushing through that initial panic, and eliminating those 4 other platforms entirely, you just focus on the single platform that is actually driving the traffic.
Right.
You cut your workload from hours and hours down to maybe 5 minutes a day. And your results.
They stayed exactly the same. Honestly, they got a little better because I actually had the mental bandwidth to make the one post really good.
That is the absolute magic of elimination. You aren't doing the work faster. You are just entirely removing the work that doesn't matter. And suddenly, boom, you just bought back 10 hours of your week to focus on building that automated business.
Okay, so step 1 is elimination. We look at everything we do, find the 20% that actually works, push through the panic, and just aggressively drop the rest.
Yes.
But, and what about the essential stuff? Because I still have to edit the video and I still have to do my taxes. I can't just eliminate the IRS. So how do I escape that remaining workload?
This is where we bring in the final piece of the puzzle, outsourcing. This is how you really buy back your life.
Okay.
Once you've eliminated the junk, you take the essential tasks that remain and you find someone else to do them, usually through a virtual assistant.
Okay, let's circle back to my earlier challenge, though, because the fear of handing over your passwords, your inbox, your sensitive data to someone halfway across the world is huge. You said earlier that people are doing this, but how do you actually justify that risk and do it safely?
It's a completely valid fear, and the book doesn't shy away from it at all. The blunt truth is, when you are increasing your potential reward, in this case, massive amounts of free time, your risk is naturally going to increase.
Right. More reward, more risk.
But you manage it by controlling the mechanism of trust. You don't just hand them the keys to the castle on day one.
So no handing over the bank routing numbers immediately to a stranger.
Exactly. You start by using tools like LastPass, where the assistant can log into your accounts to do work without ever actually seeing the raw password.
Oh, that's smart.
And you start them on incredibly low-risk tasks. You say, hey, I need to find a direct flight to Chicago next month, under $300, and book a hotel near the conference center.
Right. If they mess that up, the stakes are super low.
Exactly. You only give them more access, like maybe filtering your actual email inbox once they've proven themselves completely reliable for a month or two.
Okay, that makes it feel much more manageable. You scale the trust alongside their competence.
Exactly. And you have to look at the bigger picture here. If you are paralyzed by the tiny risk of a virtual assistant messing up an email, you are guaranteeing the massive risk of wasting your entire life doing menial administrative tasks.
Wow. Okay, that puts it in perspective. The risk of losing my life to busy work is profoundly worse than the risk of an admin error.
It really is. Let's look at the animation example from the book again to see how this scales. Remember that philosophy channel?
Yeah, the one that might fail for 2 years.
That's the one. So let's say you're making these videos. Recording the audio for the video takes you about 1 hour.
Okay.
But doing the actual animation, that takes 10 hours.
That's a massive bottleneck. You're spending your whole week just animating one video.
Right. And you might think, well, I have to do it. It's my channel. I'm the only one who cares about it.
Yeah.
But do you?
Right.
What if you go find a high school kid who is great at animation, who has extra time after school, and you offer to pay him a percentage? Maybe just 5% of what that video generates in revenue.
Oh, I see the leverage here.
You just outsource the 10-hour bottleneck.
Yeah.
Now, your entire workload for that video is just the 1 hour it takes to record the audio.
That's why.
If you want to do 2 videos a week, you are working 2 hours total. Plus maybe a few minutes of marketing on that one single platform we identified earlier. You've just successfully built a 4-hour work week.
That is incredible. But hearing you describe it, it makes me realize that outsourcing isn't just a business strategy. It's actually a huge psychological hurdle.
Oh, totally. Why do you say that?
Because we take so much weird pride in doing everything ourselves, even the grueling stuff. It's like a badge of honor to be exhausted.
Oh, absolutely. It is 100% a pride thing and a totally flawed view of what our time is worth. I realized I was bragging about mowing my lawn all day to save money, but my whole Saturday is worth more than the $20 I saved. I'm basically paying myself a poverty wage.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so many people do exactly that. We spend 6 hours on a Saturday fixing a leaky sink to save $100 on a plumber, and we just pat ourselves on the back for being so frugal.
Exactly.
But if you value your free time at, say, $50 an hour, you just spent $300 worth of your time to save $100.
It is terrible math. We are genuinely terrible at valuing our own time, which is why the book stresses that you need to get into the habit of outsourcing, even if you don't strictly need to yet.
Wait, really? Even if you have the time and can afford to do it yourself?
Yes, because managing people, learning how to give really clear instructions, figuring out how to handle it when someone misses a deadline or does the job poorly,
right.
That is an invaluable skill. You have to train the muscle of letting go of control. If you wait until you are completely overwhelmed with your business to hire a virtual assistant, it's going to be a disaster because you won't know how to delegate.
That makes total sense. You have to practice becoming a manager of systems rather than just a doer of tasks.
It's about shifting your identity from the employee of your own life to the CEO of your own life. You are the architect.
I love that, the architect.
You design the pipeline, you hire the people to maintain the pipeline, and then you step back and enjoy the relative income that the system generates.
So taking a step back and synthesizing everything we've talked about today from the book, it's really clear that this isn't just a manual for being lazy.
Not at all.
It's not about laying in a hammock doing absolutely nothing.
No, it requires immense upfront effort.
Right. It's about being absolutely ruthless with your time. It's about doing the hard work up front to build that pipeline, pushing through the panic to eliminate the nonsense that doesn't matter, and smartly outsourcing the rest.
Exactly.
And the whole point is so that you can live the life you actually want right now, not waiting until you're 65 to finally take that trip or learn that language. It's about unlocking that absolute freedom today.
That is the core message. It's a complete reimagining of what a successful life actually looks like. It moves away from the whole work until you drop mentality and embraces the idea that time and mobility are the ultimate luxury currencies.
They really are.
It challenges every single one of us to look at our daily routines and ask, am I doing this because it's effective or just because everyone else around me is carrying buckets?
Which is such a powerful thought to leave on, because once you see that broken machinery of traditional work, you really can't unsee it.
You can't?
You can't unknow that the math is completely stacked against the 80-hour work week.
The muddy waters suddenly become very, very clear.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to turn this over to you listening right now. We've talked a lot about buying back your time and escaping the 9-to-5, but here is the real test of whether you're ready for the new rich.
Let's hear it.
If you suddenly had an extra 30 hours a week, what would you actually do with it? Would you build something new or just get bored? Tell us in the comments.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to reading those. It's a much harder question to answer than you think.
It really is. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the couch today for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.